We are live. His number does not work. The one I have.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start this council study session for Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening.
Nope, sorry. Hey.
So we're going to go ahead.
Hi, everybody.
So, no old business. Number 2 on the agenda. We're going to go to 3 new business. Discussion of the H20 solutions cleaning and inspection for the reservoir 1 and 2 on page 5. So these are the, we need to get our water towers inspected, and they have to climb on top, is my understanding, and it's on button. Okay, and our contractor had tried sending our city guys up there. Good thing I got there in time, because I'm like, nope, they need to come on down, because they are not. No, that is the liability for the city, so I brought them down. So now we're gonna go ahead and we need to contract these, this H20 Solutions LLC, and this is gonna be the total that the city would be paying out for that. It's 11,600,
That's what I see.
so,
Yeah, it's exciting.
and it's, we have to have it done.
And we only have to have the one bid.
Yeah. Because there's only certain people that can do it, is my understanding from what Joe told me.
Do you know what we paid the last time to have that done?
Any invoice?
I have no idea. I asked Joe, and Joe said since he's been here, he didn't the first time.
So since 6 years ago, they never even inspected?
Back in the 80s.
So for the big one.
Since then?
The 8th, the big one, the new one?
The new one is.
We haven't done that one.
It's
That one's never been there.
been
How long
going
has it been there,
260,
Jamie?
right?
3-4 years?
Yeah, it was put online in 2018, I believe.
2018 was.
So it's good. 5 years is a good time to do an
And
inspection.
I think that's how.
The old
it's gonna-
tank was maybe 2014, and then when we did the new tank, we did some work on the old tank, and they had a couple feet of, or maybe not feet, but a fair amount of sediment they shoveled out of the bottom. So it got a cleaning then. So both tanks were essentially cleaned, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
So it's due.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good.
Okay.
Love to see the pictures.
Okay, so you're familiar with this company?
Not them. There was a different company that used to do it around here, but they've gone out of business.
Okay.
I haven't worked with this company specifically. The trick, sorry, just
No,
quick.
that's-
The
you're
trick
gonna work
with your new tank, you have the ladders and the safety systems and all that, but there's no problem. Like that's fine for people to climb because you have the cage, you have landings every 50 feet, you have the safety climb on the ladder, and so that tank's good to go for really anyone to climb. The old tank is the one that doesn't have the cage around it, and so I would personally be kind of nervous to climb it. It does have a safety climb on the ladder, but it doesn't have the cage, and that's the one that I would be more concerned about from a liability perspective. The new tank is current OSHA standards and all that, and so the new tank, anybody could climb that tank.
Question? So when they go check or certify the tank, they climb it inside, they're gonna rain the tank, or they're gonna have a special cameras to go look at them?
So probably, I haven't seen this quote. They're probably are a diver company, so they probably send a diver in to inspect it. And then they'll have some, giant vacuum that they can suck sediment out of the bottom with it. And so they typically, these types of companies send a diver in and take pictures. They take pictures and it's some big vacuum that they suck any sediment out.
That's a video inspection?
Yeah, the alternative is a submarine drone that you could drop in and swim around inside the tank, and that's what we do. We have a submarine drone that we use on tanks for that purpose, where we drop it in, swim around, and take video. It can't do the cleaning if there is sediment. It doesn't, doesn't do anything there, but it does the video.
In the experience in the past, they found like a lot of corroded thing in the bottle. They have a lot of algae or something in the
It was
bottle.
just sediment. It was just that, like a little. The other thing is that your old reservoir, the coatings on the inside are failing,
Mhm.
and should be recoated as soon as possible. And so when they did it, there were some like chunks of coatings, like paint flakes that were coming off inside the tank as well. And it was one of those where at that project, if we had the money, we would have done something, but we'd already maxed out that funding and squeezed every bit of value out of it we could. And it was one of those for instance, if you remember when we did the water system plan presentation, recoating that tank was one of your short-term goals for the water system, was to recoat that reservoir because the coatings are failing on the interior. So I'm not sure if this H2O solutions, I'm not sure if they're a diver or a submarine drone. It could be either.
Yeah, just a video inspection and report.
Historically, that was always something to have the divers. They actually have somebody in a wetsuit and they spray them down with chlorine solution and then they go in the tank, right? So they're in a sprayed down with
Are there
chlorine.
gonna be a way that we have records so they go in there and check? We make sure everything is okay, so we have evidence.
Typically, they give you a report at the end with everything they looked at and some pictures. And so, if it's a diver, if it's a submarine drone like the one we use when we do those, it just floats, or they pilot it around and it gets video and pictures and then they pull it back out.
Okay.
So you all could have done this?
We do the inspection, not the cleaning. The cleaning part,
Okay.
we don't have a way to do that, but we do that. We use that when we do reservoir assessments.
Yeah, because it's cleaning and inspection for the reservoir.
Yeah.
One
Nope.
and two.
And we're happy to, if you guys ever want to use the drone, we're happy to help with that. But
Okay. All right, any more questions for that? On that one?
Well, can we get another bid on a different one?
I think Joe just kind of went with the one, because when he was looking, that was all he could find, but I can ask him.
I've heard cities using somebody out of Utah,
Mhm.
which tells me that there aren't that many of them around.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's a pretty
So
specialty.
we don't have a choice. If
Divers
different companies.
for potable water tanks, like if you only do it every 5 years and every city only does it 5 years, there are going to be so many of them around.
These guys' website lists that they have an office in Yakima, but they're also out of Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's who
Oh,
we're,
okay,
that's
then
who
it's
we're.
stay with that one.
Yeah,
What do you
it
think?
looks like they're divers.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Tony and
What do
Mara,
you-
what do you guys think?
What do you guys think? Should we just stay with this one then if that's what he saw?
I
in
guess
the
if we can't get it anymore,
Judy? What do you
maybe
think?
compare it if
Yeah.
we can find last year or the last time we had it, but of course it'll be a lot different now.
Oh, yeah,
because
it's
that's
gone up.
5 years.
There's gonna be a lot of info. Yeah, behind was way cheap price than right now.
Yeah.
You know, everything is so expensive.
Let's just go with this.
You don't have no choice.
Let's just go with this. What do you think, Judy, there? Okay.
Okay.
That's how we can get it.
Okay, so we're gonna go with
Do you
this.
know of any more that we could go with?
I think the other one I used to see, I think the one that did the tank in like 2014, 2013 was called Liquid Vision. And I think they went out of business. It's just a real specialty service. And so
Okay.
that's why we've been using our drones sometimes, because it's like, take a look, it's easier.
Go with this one.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to B, discussion of approval of resolution 2023-10. A resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an employment agreement with Ian Alexander for the position of code enforcer, and that would be a seasonal, that's on page 13. So this would just be for 6 months. If we were to bring him on, if the council went ahead and okayed that for code enforcer to help the officers. I know I've talked with Chief about enforcing code, and him and the sergeant are just really, really swamped with work. There's been a lot of action here in Mountain, so they are just swamped.
So does this code enforcer, is this gonna be with the dogs, the houses, the cleaning, the cars and all that?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. And he does have experience. He used to be, he actually talked to the chief and before he talked and had, sat down with me, the chief and the sergeant. So he's done security, and stuff like that. So he's pretty well.
Where's he
can
out
stand-
of? Where's he from?
He's from Zilla.
From Zilla?
Yeah, no,
It's not the
Granger,
same-
Granger,
It's
Granger.
not the same one that we got here, he only lasted a week.
No, this one, he's a young gentleman.
Well, this guy was a young guy too.
Nope, he's never
And
applied
he
here.
was only here a week and then he said he had to take off and next thing I knew, he got hired in Granger the
Oh, wow.
following week.
So it's
That's
the
why
same-
I wanted
the
to
same
see if
truck.
he was gonna come in or not.
Yeah, no, this is the first.
Yeah, I
time.
see the name here. But I can't remember what his name was.
No, this one is the first time he's ever applied. So.
Applied here.
mhm.
Is there a reason why he couldn't come in today?
I don't know if he's gonna come in. I think I asked him to come in. And I mean, I can give him a call and see if he can be here at 7 if you'd like to talk to him. We can have him at 7 o'clock.
So, but he's been employed in Granger? you
No,
said?
he was employed at Washington Beach. He's in security. So when the chief talked to him, he had a lot of background of, like security and stuff like that, being able to hold his ground when he goes to a resident's house and approach them. Just somebody strong that can do that. You need somebody that can just go out there and be firm with the residents and,
Because it's not gonna be public.
enforce ordinances.
They ask for a pay or it's gonna be a volunteer or?
No, he was gonna, I believe it was.
$17.50 an hour.
$17.50 an hour.
For 35 hours. Is
Yeah,
that because they're
It's
full-time?
35 hours a
It's
week?
part-time.
So with part-time, we're still offering, he gets all this offered to him, the insurance and everything?
After 6 months, they can get in the probation, and they can get benefits. But if he don't pass the probation, the
It
6
depends
months.
on if it's part-time or not. so.
Yeah, we're just
They
doing
have to work
part-time.
So many hours before they're qualified at.
Yeah, we're just doing part-time, and it's just, the 35 hours a week, and for 6 months.
So we need to find out if he qualifies for all that, the insurance and everything that's on here before we, that's the way I feel. We don't think we should be paying somebody
Where does he got that?
Yes.
Oh, on the,
on the very front, yeah, the hand.
Over 20 hours a week becomes full-time.
what's that?
Full-time,
After 20
After
hours.
20 hours a week?
it becomes
I think,
Oh, is it?
I think it was through the CBA, I wanna say it was up to like 35 hours, or if you went over 35, then it was considered full-time.
Okay, well, you have it on there.
She's
Yeah.
telling us something.
So if that's why that
We can
over
ask-
so many
Yeah.
hours a week, then it's considered full-time, then you have to give them.
can I buy it? Right?
Do you wanna comment on that?
Well, is this the person who was then going to become a police officer after that?
This is, for code enforcing.
Okay, is this the person who's also going to, after that, will become a police officer? Before I was told there was someone who was going to serve as code enforcer until they became the police officer.
No, this is not him.
Okay, well, I sent a proposed contract to Maricela and the clerk and you late today. I was only asked Friday about preparing a contract, so I sent a proposed contract only at 4 o'clock or so today or something, so.
So, there would be no insurance on that.
So this is just an agreement, this isn't.
Well, I can barely hear anyone. Can you turn your microphones on or something?
Marty, so, he would be 35 hours a week, so that is part-time, right? I mean, 35 hours, a week. That's
Well,
for sure.
part-time for what purposes?
For seasonal code enforcement.
35, part-time for what purposes? What? Part-time, what difference would it make whether he's part-time or not? What are you concerned about if he is not
Sure.
considered part-time?
It would be, the insurance that we have to pay out,
The COLA.
and
all
the
of it.
COLA and the
COLA,
paid time
the
off.
Insurance, paid time off, all of it, I have a question about this part-time.
Well, the COLAs take effect at the start of the year, so for this particular contract, you're not gonna have to worry about the COLAs because they'll be done by September, but if he's starting now, I'll have to check on insurance. I'm not aware of that he doesn't get insurance if if he works 35 hours, but I'll check on that. PERS
Okay.
PERS applies if you work even 90 hours a month. So that would apply even with lower numbers of hours. So, but I'll check on whether the insurance has to be provided or not if you're working 35 hours a week.
Here you go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and let Bill look into that.
Are we gonna table it until next meeting?
We have to do that at a regular meeting.
Yeah. I'm saying, we're gonna table it at a regular meeting?
Well, I mean, it's up to you. I mean,
I don't want to send, I'm not gonna approve a contract until from now until we get it in front of us and we understand it. Just like with our last employee. I don't agree with that.
okay. Diane?
Something, yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Rachel, excuse me for saying this, but council is the one that does the financial part. And when you don't bring us evidence of what somebody's getting paid or whatever to have in front of us, how are we supposed to approve things?
But it has the salary right there.
This one, yes, but last time you didn't bring us contract. That's what I'm saying. I want this clarified before I
Okay,
vote
so
for
we'll
it.
go ahead and
I'm
we'll
just
table
talking for
this.
myself.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and go to C, discussion of the South Main Street overlay, construction contract award to Central Paving LLC of Ellensburg.
That's on, the light will be coming on. It's supposed to be light.
The light should have been turned green.
The battery's probably out.
Put that on that one.
You can use mine. Here, you can use this one.
No.
That was great. Okay, so just a recap of what's happened. We've got a few projects going on here in town that we've been working on that the city has some funding for. I'm Mike Muskimin with Grant Osborne, so Michael Woodkey's here also, and he'll talk about one of the other projects. This project is the South Main Street overlay. It's funded by TIB funds, 100% funded by TIB funds. And it will overlay South Main Street from South Street down to Maple Street, and also replace a few
Curbs.
the curb ramps, just the curb ramps that are deficient, that are not ADA compliant. So that's what the work is. The city opened bids on Wednesday, I think it was, and received 4 bids for this project. The low bidder is Central Paving from Ellensburg. They're a licensed and insured contractor, and they've met the mandatory bidder requirements to be able to do the work. The available funding for the project, the city had about $308,000 in a TIB grant. Their low bid was about $408,000, so almost $100,000 more than that. We've gone back to the Transportation Improvement Board and had some discussions with them, and we do need to fill out some paperwork to make this all happen. But they have agreed that they would provide the city with $80,000 of additional funding roughly. And there is one item in this bid that we would like to deductively take out of it, and that is a relocation of a fire hydrant that is down at Maple Street. We think we can design around that fire hydrant so that it is not necessary to move that, and that would save approximately $25,000. Well, about $20,000 actually, there are a couple of other items. So that would make up the difference between what TIB would fund, give you for a funding increase, and make it a 100% grant funded project to be able to do that. So our recommendation would be to award this project to Central Paving LLC, and it has to be awarded at the amount that they bid it, and then we will deductively take that change order out later on. So you will need to award it in the amount of $408,509. If you have any questions about the project or contract or any of that, I'm happy to answer.
I think that would be better than to do it like that, the way he said.
They got 4 contractors already that they figured out what is the amount.
Yeah.
Now 4 of us. If it doesn't, there's deal that we can get, I guess. Can get more done with less money, it's better.
Yeah, it is. It has been an interesting year. I'll say the last couple of years, obviously, as everything has been hit with inflation, the construction prices have gone up considerably. And I think you'll see that on a number of bids here going forward, is that oftentimes when we're doing the estimates for these projects, for the funding level estimates, we're doing those 1 to 2 years in advance, and it's sometimes a little, and setting that funding amount at that point. And we usually try to be very conservative and throw in enough contingency to where we can account for things like inflation and whatnot. But it has been pretty crazy as far as the amount of inflation that we've seen in the last couple of years. And that is essentially what you're seeing on these bids. And I can tell you are not the only city that's experiencing that. So it was, I think, generous that TIB is willing to provide you with the additional funds to move forward with the projects.
They had already filled me in on this earlier last week or this week, right? Yeah, so we're just coming to report to the council about this.
Okay? Thanks.
Any questions, guys?
Mayor, I think the rest see through G's.
Also
Yeah,
also
so-
going to be a
Oh,
whole
God.
Okay, so
second part of
I'm
it.
gonna go to, let's see, discussion of South Main Street overlay construction engineering services supplement agreement with Bray Osborne. Bray and Osborne, page 41.
So this is this item is an agreement with us to provide the construction engineering services, which would include full-time construction inspection monitoring. I'm sorry, it's part-time construction inspection monitoring during the course of this project, and also completion of the other administration functions like taking care of writing the change order, the usual stuff that we would do for the city, helping with reimbursements, and verifying that the contractor is completing the work in accordance with the contract. So this portion of the work is also, of the project is also 100% grant funded by TIB, and it hasn't increased. We've held our price there. So. If you have questions about any of the scope of that, happy to explain that in further detail.
Do you have any questions? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go on to E, discussion of park and ride improvements project, construction contract award to Wheeler Excavation LLC on page 15 through 27.
All right, so I think Mike mentioned open bids for 2 projects, actually, the South Main project we just went through, and then also the Park and Ride Improvements project. If you think back 2-3 months ago, we presented the projects here. So the Park and Ride is basically a parking lot facility with some other aesthetic improvements on the corner of Main and South Street, would that be northeast corner of the intersection. So we received the bids. The city received 7 bids for the project, so quite a few bids. It was but unfortunately, like Mike said, the construction market has increased, and the bids did exceed the for all the items that were bid, it exceeded the available funding. I did provide a kind of a funding breakdown sheet. I believe that made it in your packet, and that might be helpful to you guys to kind of talk through this. I'm looking at this sheet. So the city has $316,700 in funding for the project, and that's split between a WashDOT Regional Mobility Grant, which is a little bit less than $200,000 for
Yeah.
Yakima County seed funding for $48,340.
Yes, 128.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have the page numbers on mine. And then $75,000 from TIB Complete Street. So there's kind of a mixed funding package, and each funder was kind of funding a different aspect of the project. So when we bid the project, we bid it in what's called schedules. So there's 4 separate schedules there. There's Schedule A, the parking ride, which is just your base bid. Additive item 1, which was the decorative sign. I think we showed some renderings of that on our presentation a couple months back. The irrigation system and hydro seeding was also bid as a separate item. And then also a rapid rectangular flashing beacon, the little push button blinky lights that pedestrians pushed across the road. That was actually to go at 5th and B Street, was the selected location. But when we got the bids were over the funding amount. So we went back to TIB and they agreed to allow the $25,000 that was allocated for the RFP to be used on the park and ride if the city elected to do so. Doing that, so the city would have enough funding to award the base bid for the park and ride, just Schedule A, but not necessarily enough funding for the decorative park sign, the irrigation system and hydro seeding, and then Schedule B would also be, Schedule B, which was the RFP, would have to be change ordered out, similar to the change order for the South Main project. Kind of talking through it pretty quickly here, but happy to answer any questions. The long and short of it is the city does have enough funding now to award the base bid for the park and ride, should you like to do so. And then there are also options if the city would like to come up with some additional funding for the decorative park sign or the irrigation system.
How much did you say that decorative sign was again? My notes stayed over.
Yeah, so that's item 4 on here, and that was $15,000 was the contractor's bid for this.
Which is the good price for that sign.
Which, yeah, compared to the other prices, there's also a bid tabulation in your packet. You could go across that line and look at the other prices. It was a fairly good price for what the city would be getting for that. So what we'd be looking for here, as far as a motion, would be to award the contract. We had to award Schedule A and Schedule B because B was not technically an optional item, and then again, that would be deductively change ordered out. And then we'd also be looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the change order to then reduce the contract, take out Schedule B from the contract for the RFP.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, we're going to go ahead and go on to F. Any questions there?
Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and go on to F, discussion of park and ride improvements project construction administration services contract amendment with Gray and Osborne on page 29 through 39.
So similar to the construction admin services for South Main Street, this would be our agreement to provide an inspector, survey staking, conduct a pre-con, execute the change order to reduce Schedule B out of the contract. The standard services we provide for construction admin on projects for you guys. And like Mike said, that cost doesn't go up necessarily with the construction market, so it's the same as it was when we were.
We're not inflating our costs. Our costs are the same as they were at our own peril.
Questions?
Thank you, council.
We're going to go ahead and go on to G. Discussion of the grade crossing construction and maintenance agreement on page 44 through 98.
44 to 98.
It's a little light reading for you.
Okay.
If you're laying awake tonight and can't sleep, this is what you want to pull out.
So this grade crossing agreement is for the third project that we have not yet bid. We're still working on finishing up the design and getting approvals for that. In order to get the approval for and that is the Main Street reconstruction from, technically I think goes all the way down to South Street up to Washington. So it includes this stretch of Main right here. And also the railroad crossings there. In order for the city and its contractor, whenever they are selected to do work within the BNSF right-of-way, and to make improvements to that crossing that would allow for the construction of a sidewalk across the west side of the road, the side with the grocery store here. Across that, we need to make some modifications to the signal system. And in order to do that, BNSF requires they would be the ones to complete those improvements, and they will, they would complete revisions to the crossing itself, crossing signal system itself, as well as the tracks there. They need to come in and put in a couple of concrete pads there to extend out that crossing across there so that pedestrians can actually walk across that and make it wider. This agreement is driven entirely by BNSF. There were some, we've spent about a year and a half or so on this actual agreement itself, 3 years in total with BNSF to get to this point. And I think what we can safely say is that we're through all that, and it's worked out fairly well for the city. Originally, BNSF was demanding that the city pays maintenance on that, maintenance cost, an annual maintenance cost. It turns out that there is a little known state law that says that you can't do that. BNSF was challenging that you as a city can't pay those maintenance costs if the project is funded with federal highway dollars. BNSF was challenging that in court, and they lost that challenge. So that sort of held up some of the discussion on this, but it's all been resolved now, and that part of it, the city paying maintenance on those improvements, is not included in this agreement, which is rare, I would say. Most cities are going to have to pay those costs as they continue to do work on the signals themselves. So that, in essence, is what this agreement is for. It's essentially for BNSF to come in and make those improvements to the signal system. The costs for that are fairly substantial. I think the signal system itself is roughly $200,000, I think, total for that. So it's buried in here somewhere. Those costs would come out of the city's FHWA funded grant for Main Street. So there's no cost to the city for that. And the work would occur, it would be coordinated with the work that the city is going to be doing on Main Street. So it'll happen sometime this summer. I couldn't really tell you when, but it'll be coordinated with them to do it. So.
Any questions?
I think I asked this question before. Are they gonna remove that spur line out to the south side of the main track? Or leave it?
Unfortunately, at this time, they're not going to remove it because it's their spur line. Even though they don't use it, they're gonna leave it there because it's theirs. They get to make that choice. So it will stay there for now. There have been some discussions with the railroad about removing it. And they do recognize that it has little to no use, and they may take it out in the future, but it's not part of this project to do that. So best we could get them to do.
Now, is it gonna be a cost to the city when they do decide to remove it, do you know?
I would not think so, because it is theirs. But, you know, BNSF has a way of, and the railroads generally have a way of getting some of those costs back, because it is technically they were here first. They have the underlying right to the property. Mm-hmm. And you guys have technically an easement across there for your roadway. And, you know, that gives them more leverage in that discussion. But, you know, certainly when it does happen, we'll want to be involved and try to fight where the city is not paying for the cost of removing that, or the repair of the roadway to do so. But I couldn't guarantee you that at this point.
So we're looking for council to essentially approve this agreement tonight, if possible, and authorize the mayor to sign it. Again, as Mike said, it's been a very long process. This is, you know, we're saying Main Street's coming, but we've been waiting on the railroad for a long time, and I think we finally got to a place where, you know, if that agreement is signed, we can move forward. And so then the plan would be to, if council approves this tonight, the plans will get finalized, and we're advertising the project the next month.
It's likely around the next month, yeah, sometime.
Advertise it for
hopefully
bids.
in, you know, sometime in April. We still have to get the next phase of this, now that we've gotten past what we think is past the BNSF hurdle, is getting the final approval from WashDOT. And we've been in discussion with them about other the improvements down there at the intersection, and we've got them prepared to receive the plans from us. As soon as we can get this agreement signed, then we will submit the plans and specs to WashDOT for their approval, and hopefully it'll take them about a month to get through it, and we'll be advertising the project and building it later this summer. So.
We just need it to be approved. Okay, so we're moving on to G, discussion of Frank Crossing construction and maintenance agreement.
That was this.
You know what, I'm already doing scribbles over my, notes over my, okay. So, 4 would be title.
Interview. The interview.
So we're going to do interview for council member candidates, which is on page 43.
Thank you.
The questions are hard.
So do we choose interview?
No, not for me.
So are we gonna pick one?
Yeah, the week to terminate the year.
So at this time, only one person applied for the position, but we'll go ahead and have Ann come up to the podium, and then you guys can.
Could I ask her, do you think tabling this like we did last time, we might get more? Because
I
that's
think,
what we did the last time.
yeah, I think we're just gonna go ahead and go forward with it tonight, because we really need somebody. So you wanna go ahead and step up to the podium,
And
Em,
that's
please?
the correct answer. It should be up to us.
What do you do, are we gonna go questions from that way, this way, or how do you wanna do it?
Yeah, there's only 3 questions, and then there's 3 questions on there, but if anybody wants to add any other questions, they can.
So you wanna go ahead and state your name and your address, please?
My name is Ann Morales, and my address is 304 3rd Avenue, here in Mapton, Washington.
I'm sorry, could I get your name again? I didn't hear it clearly.
Ann
Ann.
Morales.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Okay.
well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you the first question, since we have 3 questions. What goals would you like to see the city set for the next 10 years?
To go forward in modern technology and bringing a better, for kids to have something to do here in town instead of that kind of stuff, you know, I mean, it's like the bigger cities have, you know, like Boys and Girls Clubs and that kind of stuff. I don't know if they have that, but to make us more, we are technology savvy and everything, but it just seems like a small town still. And that we could all be informed besides having to do it on the internet, like the cable TV or the cable, that kind of stuff. Like, so far we do it on Facebook, like then like when all the water went out, people were able to tally everybody, say, yeah, it's going on, that's what's going on. And that's a better way of informing people, that kind of stuff, besides everybody get on the telephone. So, I don't know, that's my ideas.
Would like to ask the next question?
What do you see as being priorities for the city?
To make sure that the money's not being spent unwisely. Oh, that's,
Oh, no, she said what else?
oh, what
Would you
else?
like-
Oh, that's the main thing, and to see that, I don't know, that maybe, well, more community, like last summer, we did those, you know, the people in the park thing and all that, that seemed to bring the city together better and everything, more those kind of festivities.
That's you mean?
More events, more
More events.
activities.
More activities, yeah, but involving the whole area, including the landing areas instead of just the little tiny town, you know, that kind of stuff. Because we have Dollar General, we have the grocery store, and everybody comes to town to buy. They want to know what's going on in the town and everything, so. I don't know, you know.
What's the next question?
I don't want to.
Okay, go ahead. If you want to,
No, I'm fine.
you want to do, okay, so how would you go ahead, go about achieving the goals, the above goals and priorities for the city?
Maybe making sure that everybody is informed. Where does the money come from, besides our taxes? That's what I'm just wondering, because I'm not really quite sure, besides property taxes, or we don't have a city tax or anything. And then how can we go about also getting monies to go ahead and create more of the community get-togethers, or like say when people have babies and make a community like the first of the year. I don't know, maybe it's not important, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool, more community-minded, you know, that kind of stuff. And then also, I think it's great for getting new roads. I didn't realize how bad the roads were. I knew the roads were bad on my side until I went on that side of town. It's like covered in wagon, and I thought, I'm not gonna complain. The Lord works in mysterious ways, and he'll get it done one of these days. So that's my thoughts. Until, you know, somewhere we could get a lottery ticket handed in our hands and everything, so.
There you go. Okay, Ann, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
So, we go into executive session for that? Okay, so at this time, we're gonna go ahead and go into executive session, and go over the selection of the council member who applied for the position. Let's do 20 minutes.
Start timer?
So we're gonna go ahead and wait for everyone to, so it's 6:42.